a really impressive defensive performance that I could have kind of seen happening with Jared Goff and Todd Gurley going to Minnesota. We also saw this weekend a tremendous comeback from a Saints defense that actually let up tons and tons of explosive plays. I don't know the injury status of Marshawn Lattimore, but I'm going to go to Jet Central first. Other than the Philadelphia Eagles, who is the biggest obstacle in the NFC to prevent the Eagles from winning that conference?
Tough question. Really good question. I feel like it's this question kind of comes down to matchups. I don't necessarily think you could just point to one team and just say this is the best. This is the best team that can play the Eagles or will have the best chance to win against them. But I feel like maybe, I think Carolina at home in the playoffs would be a really tough road test for Philly. I also think, looking at the New Orleans Saints, playing in that Superdome, they're going to bring it. And then surprisingly, they've been great away. They've been great away from the Superdome. So I think really it comes down to the Saints and the Panthers to be the biggest or the hardest challenge for the Eagles in the postseason.
Really, Jet Central, you don't think the Vikings at all have a tough task, against the Eagles at all? I mean, are you just missing the Vikings being how they're so dominant on defense, and Case Keenum playing out of his mind, a career year. I know the Vikings they haven't had success in the recent years, but I think the Vikings are to be had, in the NFC as well. I mean, I just want to get your take on the Vikings as well. Put them in the mix.
For sure, yeah, great question. I just think that the Eagles match up well with the Minnesota Vikings. The reason why I picked the Saints and the Panthers is because I can see those two teams knocking off Philly. I can see Minnesota playing Philly tough, but throughout this season, I think the Eagles have done. Their defense has really they've made the opposing quarterbacks struggle big time. I feel like they can make Case Keenum question himself, throw or confuse him a little bit. Maybe keep him inside the pocket and really just force him to make tough decisions and throw into tight windows. Whereas Drew Brees and Cam Newton, both quarterbacks have both are MVP level, both have played in tough playoff games before. I don't think it's as easy to shut down Cam and Drew as opposed to Case.
Absolutely, and I just want to say for the record, since we're from Philadelphia, obviously, and obviously seeing the Eagle fans cheer and being happy for this Cowboys win and whatnot. I just got to go off the record, and this is for a message for all Eagles fans out there. This is your year. I don't want to hear at the end of the year that because here's the one thing: Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Green Bay is done. So Green Bay is done. You got the Seattle Seahawks. They're done with Cam Chancellor.
Huntley was horrible.
Out. And,
horrible.
And the NFC this year is, it could easily run through Philadelphia. I mean, I don't want to hear the excuses, the Philadelphia media saying in them, we had a great year. This is a great year. I mean, this is what happened too. I mean, this happens every year in Philadelphia. The media hypes up the team. The fans hype them up. It's always the same story. We could go back all the way in the early 1980s where Dan Marino got to his first Super Bowl, and they said, "Oh, no worries. The Dan Marino will get back to the Super Bowl. He's got a lot of fight in him left. He's a young career guy." When you have the opportunity when it presents itself like this year, that they're the best team right now in the NFL, there's absolutely no excuse, and I don't want to hear it from any Eagles fan at all.
Go ahead, Spence.
No, you are absolutely right, man. I'm going to get to you, Jet Central, in just a second. When Green Bay beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl, when Brett Favre went to New Orleans and kicked the crap out of Drew Bledsoe and the Patriots and then followed that up by playing John Elway in a Super Bowl, no one would have said that Brett Favre would never win a ring again. And then when Aaron Rodgers beat Big Ben, immediately after that game, I was sitting in my Dallas hotel room after that Super Bowl, and I had to talk to my dad, and I said, this guy Aaron Rodgers is going to win at least 2 more. I said he'd win 3 Super Bowls. He hasn't even been to a Super Bowl since that time because injuries happen, complacency takes over. bad luck happens, like the Bostic thing. Your defenses get a lot worse. And look at Atlanta this year. Like, Atlanta's a perfect example of that. You know, they had all the DNA to win, but once you get to that mountaintop and you can't win at all, it's so hard to repeat it. And Seattle's the perfect example, because Richard Sherman even cites in interviews, he says, regular season games are boring. It's hard for us to get back to that level of peak success after we were just at the mountaintop for like 2 to 3 seasons. And that one play, the Malcolm Butler pick where Darrell Bevell told Russell Wilson to throw, that haunts Seattle and that haunts Richard Sherman, and that's going to haunt them for a long time, because if they would have won that Super Bowl, it would have been 2 Super Bowls, but now they think that they're cursed. And it's just, the road is so damn hard, Shanko, like we're talking about. Even the Carolina Panthers, even freaking Denver. Everybody said, oh, just let Trevor Siemian, play the role of Peyton Manning and they can easily get back there. Wrong. Stuff happens. So completely agree. Urgency has to be high. And that's why it'd be so nice as Giants fans if someone could knock them off, because they won't be as dominant next year. But go ahead, Jet Central.
Right, I was just going to actually allude to the point that you just made by bringing up the Falcons. They struggled big time this season, really the same overall team, just making a switch at the offensive coordinator position and changing the offensive system really just threw a wrench in the whole Atlanta Falcons kind of flow. You see them struggle to put up points. They get off to a slow start. I mean, tonight they look really good, but, throughout the season, you can tell they're not the Super Bowl team. Another team that has disappointed that had really high hopes is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at them, they pretty much won the offseason. They did well in free agency. They did well in the draft. Come season time, can't put it together. They have 3 or 4 wins. 4 wins, I believe. So I definitely agree with you, Matt, as far as, the Eagles. This is the Eagles' year. Because, really, when are you going to get another better opportunity? When the Giants are having a down year. Rodgers is out. Zeke suspended. Falcons struggling. Bucks, you don't really know what's going on with them. The Legion of Boom. I'm actually watching the game right now. The Legion of Boom is hurt. This is the perfect opportunity for the Eagles to strike and to hopefully for Eagles fans out there get to the Super Bowl.
I've ran this scenario in my head a lot, and I don't see any scenario where Case Keenum or even Teddy Bridgewater is going into a frigid Lincoln Financial Field and leading a team in the Vikings to a win over the Eagles. I don't see that happening one bit. A very possible scenario for the Eagles to lose the NFC is New Orleans needs to get home field throughout. If the Saints get home field throughout, it's the Superdome, baby. It's Drew Brees. It's Ingram. It's Kamara. The Saints can battle and put up with the Eagles. That pass rush will get to Philly. The Saints can actually win that game. So the Saints are my number 1 team. Now let's talk about a road team that can put scare into the Eagles. Believe it or not, Jared Goff and the LA Rams, no playoff experience. We just saw Jared Goff go to Minnesota and struggle. If Jared Goff and that soft California Rams team goes into Philly, there ain't no way that they're winning that game. The Eagles are going to pound them defensively. And also the Rams defense isn't incredibly elite. They just lost more cornerbacks. So the Eagles are going to beat the Rams even at the Coliseum in 2 weeks. So actually, these are the 2 teams I can see it happening. I still believe a little bit in Atlanta. I hope Atlanta's winning the game right now. I don't know what the score is, JC. What's the score?
Right now it's 24-17, but the Seahawks, it's 4th down right now, and they're lining up to kick a field goal.
So the Atlanta's up.
Right.
Okay, Atlanta, I think, could be sneaky good. You saw Adrian Claiborne, how successful he was, Shanko. That pass rush can be really good. If they get Freeman back and Coleman, they can run the football well. So Atlanta, and then I also like Carolina. I like Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly, a battle-tested team on the road. Once you get Cam Newton in a playoff situation, that's the type of guy that could scare you a little bit. That's the kind of quarterback I like. So I'd say, in that order, I think it's all the NFC South pretty much.
Yeah, I hear you on that, man.
Yeah, so the storylines of yesterday, guys. Also, we had Nathan Peterman really struggling. We had Blaine Gabbert. Yes, go ahead, Jet Central. Tee us up with the topic.
I just wanted to dive into that Tyrod Taylor situation, but continue what you were going to say, because
Nah.